received a call this morning from a friend who asked me a question about grace, what it meant to me, because in the organization that we were a part of our whole life, pretty much, it was never really taught. Um, I have seen that in areas where it is taught or used, it is mystified, like much of the Bible is in churchianity or Christendom. Um, Grace seems to be this figurative uh, means by which we have um, salvation just dumped upon us without us being accountable for anything, having any responsibility whatsoever. But is that what grace is? Is it something that it is um, just thrust upon us and we don't have a choice or a obligation um, in the matter at all? Um, some people have called grace unwarranted favor, uh, which I think that is very close to the definition, but it's missing just a little bit. Um, in Ephesians 2 5 and 8 talks about how we are saved by grace through faith. Okay? The actual definition of charis, the Greek word, means grace or uh, kindness. It can also be translated as the Lord's favor. And yes, it is unwarranted. But is that all it is? Is it something that we don't deserve that He just gives to us, puts on us, dumps over our head? No, I don't think so. 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul had an affliction in his body that he called a thorn in his flesh, and he prayed about it, and God said that my grace is sufficient for you. So we look at this simply as something that happened to him, and so God granted him something. They had no obligation or duty, and God just says, my grace will take care of it. But when you go to Galatians 4:14, he is explaining this to the Galatians. That it is a test or a trial that he is going through. But the word there can also be translated, and the context fits, that it is a temptation in his flesh. So it's something that he struggles with, not necessarily as a test to prove himself, but as something that is constantly dogging him to commit sin, to fall away from Christ. And God said that His grace was sufficient. He prayed that God would take that temptation away from him, but His grace was sufficient. So what is grace? That it counteracts a temptation, something that could cause you to lose out, to let go of your faith, to turn from God. Well, go back to Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 23 and 37, and you see how God divorced the northern house of Israel. And then He promised in Jeremiah and Ezekiel both that they would be restored, that all of Israel would be saved. So, how are they saved? If you look in Romans 7, where Paul is explaining to the Romans how they were able to be grafted back in, the house of Israel be able to grafted back in, because the death of the husband released them from the law of the husband. Because in Exodus, a wife that was divorced, once she had created whoredoms, laid with other men, she could not return to her first husband, because that was a pollution, a defilement, where other seed had been planted in his field. So it was an abomination before God for a man to take a unfaithful wife back after she had gone and been married to another man. So God made a way where, through his death, burial, and resurrection, where it released Israel from the law of the husband, where she was able to be recovenanted back to him. So that was the grace of God. So when you look at it in that light, grace is very, very simple. Yes, it is unwarranted favor, but it's more than just favor. It is an opportunity that you did not deserve to get it right a second time, or third, or fourth, or fifth, and on. It's the opportunity to get it right after, in the words of my people, boy, you done messed up. So, once you have sinned, fallen short of the glory of God, the grace is God giving you the opportunity, and he died to do it, the opportunity for you to get it right another time. Study this for yourself. I could be wrong. Have a good evening.